Another initiative in response to the financial crisis were the financial soundness indicators. Now this effort had started some years ago, but it had been advanced more recently. And basically the FSIs are indicators of the health of the entire sector of the financial institutions, but also of the counterpart corporate and household sectors and of relevant markets. And there are 12 core indicators that basically cover deposit-taking institutions, such as capital adequacy ratios, liquidity, things such as that. And then there are 28 encouraged indicators that we collect if reporters are able to provide them. Right now there are 64 countries, or maybe economies is a better word, because there are also a lot of these offshore centers that have provided us data for this exercise that are included among the 64 participants. In this data set, the frequency this time was left to the discretion of the reporter. This data set is also available online and free. I think one interesting thing about this data set is that in addition to the indicators that are included on the site, we also included the actual report forms that the authorities provided us, so you can actually see the source of the data that we compiled. To the financial crisis is the high-frequency government finance statistics. For people that are familiar with the IFS, you know that in the past we only included a handful of concepts for government finance statistics. In current IFS, we expanded that, and this is consistent with our government finance statistics manual. So all the data are compiled consistently across countries, and the frequency of the data is expanded from the past. If you're familiar with our yearbook, the GFS yearbook, you know that we only had annual data. Now we also have quarterly, and some countries are providing us actually monthly data also. Right now, coverage is limited on a country basis, but it's gradually expanding. I suspect it will grow quite well over time. Some of the concepts that are included in this conceptual framework that were not included before. Before we had also had government revenues and expenditures. Finally, one of our newest initiatives, and this one has just gotten off the ground, is the Coordinated Direct Investment Survey. Of course, direct investment is a component in a financial account of both the balance of payments and the international investment position. In this effort, the purpose is to measure the stock of foreign direct investment by source. As you know, traditionally, in our data sets, we were measuring direct investment vis-a-vis the rest of the world. So if you looked at direct investment for a particular country, it would always be vis-a-vis the rest of the world. Now we're going to break that down by source. So far we have 130 FDI investing or receiving economies that expressed interest in participating in this exercise. And right now the target for the measurement date is the end of this year. So I suspect the collection process will probably begin sometime mid-year, and hope we can wrap it up shortly thereafter. Seeing the future of IMF electronic data dissemination. Right now, we're looking at sort of a two-pronged approach for dissemination of IMF data. One is the SDMX standard. I'm sure many of you are familiar with SDMX. It's an initiative to foster standards for the exchange of statistical data. It's still an emerging standard, and many may not be aware of it, but it's already recognized by the International Organization for Standardizations. We are particularly interested in this because for us it will have a dual use. We can use it both for collection and dissemination. It's probably more practical for the batch exchange of large data sets rather than small downloads. And on the other side, a few years ago, the IMF contracted with David Oser of Research Perspectives, which is a London-based firm, and he gathered some input from our subscribers. And from that input, we developed this project called the Economic Data Dissemination Project. And it's it's an IT capital project with the long-term goal of replacing the current online tool, which probably some of you are familiar with. Some of the features that we're looking for in this new tool is that it will be web-based, more interactive, and it will support a more device user community. One of the things that came out of this study from David Oser was that we had a very diverse user community. We had persons anywhere from researchers all the way to journalists that were only interested in, for example, a few high-level headline numbers. And we had to find a way to searches, something that we do not have right now. Content browsing. This one I really like is personal customization. We're hoping that once this gets established, persons that subscribe to our data sets will be able to create their own queries, save those queries, and come back to them later. We also will allow subscribers to manage their own subscriptions online, and we will have data alerts that you can set up. For example, if you want to know when a series gets updated, you could set an alert, and it will probably send you an email. Another feature that we hope to include are the social features, such as forum and blogs. This is beneficial for our user community because it will allow them to exchange ideas, and also for us, and we'll be able to monitor and gather feedback on an ongoing basis from our user base. Providers of data are using this more and more, and we intend to do something with this moving forward also. Right now, I'm limited on time, I will not open it. Right now on the imf.org website, we already have something called Data Mapper, which maps data geographically. For example, if you were to look at current account balance, it would map the current account balance on a world map and color code the countries according to their current account balance. So we plan to include tables, charts, maps, and composites, which are sort of a mixture of all those. Finally, one thing we've not been good at in the past is sort of consolidating our data sets. This initiative is sort of a joint effort by our External Relations Department, which handles the subscriptions, the IMF Statistics Department, and other departments such as the Research Department that produces the World Economic Outlook and has their own database. So once this project gets on ground, gets moving, we hope to be able to consolidate all our databases in one place, both the free ones and the charged data sets. Anyway, that's sort of everything I wanted to discuss. I went through it rather quickly.
That was perfect time. Thank you very much. So we do have time for one or two questions if anybody has them.